3 reasons beginners should sell put options. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 3 reasons beginners should sell put options, cash secured put options specifically. Why is that? Well, you probably know we're going to be talking about it. Reason number 1, this is selling cash secured put options with a proper stock selection is a very forgiving strategy. What do I mean by proper stock selection? Choosing a stock that you wouldn't mind owning the rest of your life, if you had to, at a price of purchasing it that you wouldn't mind buying it if you had to. Ideally, it gives you a dividend, and also you're ideally picking a stock that is not gonna pull an Enron on you. If you don't know what pulling an Enron means, look it up so you can find out what is possible in the world. So you're looking for a stock that you think is not going to go bankrupt, because if it goes bankrupt, then you might not be able to own it the rest of your life, right? So picking a stock that has the potential to stay in business for at least the amount of time that you might be alive, that would pay you dividends, and that there's probably some more qualifications to it, but those are kind of, to keep it really, really simple. Pays dividend, has a very, very low chance of somehow going bankrupt or disappearing, going out of business. You wouldn't mind owning it the rest of your life, and you potentially would be purchasing it at a price that you'd be comfortable buying it at. Then what ends up happening if you do end up purchasing the stock? Let's say you purchase it at 100 shares at $5, right? Then every time you bring in a dividend, or you do this other thing called writing a covered call, every time you bring in money from that stock, it reduces your cost basis a little bit. So if you had to own the stock for the rest of your life, between collecting dividends and between writing covered call premium, eventually you have pulled out that $5 per 100 shares. So then you end up having the stock, 100 shares of the stock. You end up having your initial investment back, and you're still bringing in dividends, and you're still able to write covered calls. In the big picture, that is a very beautiful thing. But let's look at a really, really small picture. The small picture is when you write a cash secured put option on a stock that you wouldn't mind owning. At the end of the time period when the contract expires, one of 2 things will happen. One, the contract expires worthless, you keep the premium. That means you win. 2, the contract does not expire worthless, you keep the premium, and you buy a stock that you wanted to own the rest of your life that pays a dividend, and you're going to be writing cover calls over it. So it doesn't matter what happens, you win. You want to win no matter what? You better look at the strategy. What's reason number 2? Reason number 2, you don't need to spend much time in front of a computer. How about that? You don't need to spend much time. You just have to pick a stock that you wouldn't mind owning the rest of your life. You just have to be comfortable. Now, if you want to spend a lot of time in front of your computer, you can, but you don't have to. Let's say you got 5 kids. Let's say you got 25 jobs. 25 kids, 5 jobs, whatever you got. It doesn't matter what you got. You got a busy life. You can do this. If you have enough time to check your bank account, just slide a little more extra time in to check your stock brokerage account. All you need is a bank account, an internet connection, and you can linky up your bank account with your stock brokerage account, and you could be doing this. You don't have to try to be a master of the stock market. You just have to get somewhat good at this. It's very forgiving. Look at reason number 1. It's very forgiving. You don't really have to be that good. You just basically have to pick a stock that's not going to go bankrupt. That's pretty much it. Reason number 3. Reason number 3. Train your brain. Now, we all know that it's really spelled with like this with an R on it. But I was trying to fit in here, and it was trying to move in with some room. So just forgive me on that. You know, it goes down to training your brain. When you start doing this strategy, it's so forgiving and it doesn't really take a lot of time, and you're able to do it for long months over and over. You could easily do this for 12 months without a problem. Now, can you imagine you do this for 12 months? Let's say you write 1 or 2 contracts a month. So you're either writing like some months maybe you write a contract that expires in 30 days, and maybe some months you write 2 contracts that expire in 15 days each. So you're basically doing it 1 to 2 times a month in a 12-month period. Can you imagine how much you will flipping learn? Can you imagine what would happen after 12 months of doing this very forgiving strategy? Maybe you'll have collected a lot of premium. Maybe you have a mixture of premium and stock. Can you imagine how much you'll learn? You'll know where to click. You'll know all these different things. It trains your brain. And if you want to get into more advanced strategies, this is very, very good to be doing, so you start understanding mechanics. One of the biggest no-nos that I see people doing is they start trying to do really complex strategies right in the beginning when they don't understand the basics. I mean, can you imagine? Let's say I live in Hawaii, so a lot of people surf. Can you imagine trying to surf like a 6-foot wave at the North Shore when all the pros are out there for your first time on a shortboard? Can you imagine that? I can't, because I can barely surf myself, so that's not something I can imagine. It would make sense to me to surf small waves with a big board. That's very forgiving. Make it, easy on myself. And then over time of getting better at surfing, then I can start trying to hit the bigger waves with the smaller boards and try to get fancy. Now let's say you're doing this for a while, you start understanding what's going on, and then you realize some of these other techniques, they take more concentration, more focus and effort, and you're going to go on vacation. So you don't want to be putting those strategies on. You go back to this strategy. You do a set it and somewhat forget it type of strategy. Train your brain. Now, let's see. Let me think for a second. Is there anybody that knows a thing or two about money that talks about training the brain? Let's see. Let's see. Does anybody who knows a thing or two about money talk about training your brain? Let's see what Robert Kiyosaki has to say about training your brain. The guy that just happens to be like the '1 New York Times bestseller for personal finance book in all history of the world, or something like that. Something like that. I guess he knows a thing or two about money. So what does Robert say? He says the single most important asset we all have is our mind. Most powerful asset is our mind. If it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth in what seems to be an instant. Most powerful asset is our mind, if it's trained well. Use a strategy that's very forgiving, really user-friendly. You don't need a lot of time to do it. It trains your mind to understand what's going on in the stock market for more complex things. You want to go a little bit deeper into training your mind? Pick this up. ihavesuccess.com, 3 underused tactics to transform your financial results. You can apply it to anything, not just trading in the stock market, anything. It's that simple. Now, they're not necessarily simple to apply. There's 3 different ones, and I've listed them in degrees of difficulty to implement. Check them out. Try to implement some things. The reason why I put these together, because I use them myself. They 100% absolutely work. Just apply them. Learn to sell some cash secured put options. I'll put a link at the end of this video where you can get a little more detailed on selling cash secured put options. And check this out. Give me a comment. Let me know whatever. Talk to me. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon.